Thanks for joining Gun Emergency Management Consulting Group's presentation on what is a COOP and how having a COOP can be the difference between coordination and chaos during an emergency. A little bit about myself, I'm Kyle Gunn, and my mission at GEMCG is to provide comprehensive emergency management continuity plans for West Texas. About my experience, I served 6 years as an active duty Army infantry officer, where I was well versed in planning and emergency management planning, things of that nature. After I got out, I got my FEMA Level 1 Professional Continuity Practitioner certification. And then I went on to get my FEMA Level 2 Master Continuity Practitioner certification. And as of FY19, in Region 6, which represents Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana, there's only 160 Level 2 continuity practitioners. I also received my master's degree from UNLV in Crisis and Emergency Management. Who's this for? Who needs a continuity of operations plan? It can be represented public, private sector, whether it's a private business. It's good for business practice to ensure you can reduce your loss of income and loss of revenue during a disruption. Also, it can be for the public sector, local governments, churches, schools, hospitals. Continuity of operations can apply to any organization. For an overview, we'll talk about what is a COOP. You'll find out what a COOP plan is and how it's crucial for your organization. Next, we'll discuss what a COOP plan is not. There are several misconceptions of COOPs, and in this section, we'll address some of them just so you know what to avoid. Following that, we'll discuss what a COOP contains. There are several components and details in a COOP, and we can figure out what a COOP might look like for your organization since it'll be shaped to your unique needs. And finally, we'll wrap it up with creation and sustainability of a COOP. In this section, we'll discuss how a COOP's created and how to make sure it's sustained and updated. Make sure you stick around until the end to receive a special gift. Part 1, what is a COOP? There are federal guidelines out for continuity of operations, and the main ones are NSPD 51, or the National Security Presidential Directive 51, and HSPD 20, or the Homeland Security Presidential Directive. And what it defined it as for the National Continuity Policy Implementation Plan, or NCPIP, is an effort with individual executive departments and agencies to ensure that primary mission essential functions, or PMEFs, continue to be performed during a wide range of emergencies. They can include localized acts of nature, accidents, and technological or attack-related emergencies. At the state level, it's driven by Texas Labor Code Section 412.054. According to the Texas State Office of Risk Management, the state of Texas must be prepared to ensure the continuing performance of all critical government functions under all conditions, including emergencies that disrupt normal operations. The capability depends on effective continuity planning that identifies crucial functions, identifies the personnel, facilities, and other resources required to continue delivery of those functions. In regular terms, continuity of operations plan is set into place to help you and your organization be prepared during any emergency. It also contains a plan that will help your organization continue with your essential functions during a disturbance. What a continuity plan should be. It should be easily found when needed because you're going to need this during a disaster, so you need to know where to find it and how to implement it. Secondly, it should be regularly updated based on your current conditions and experience. You have to make sure that your plan is updated so it stays relevant. If you don't update it, you'll have old information, and when you need it, you won't know who to contact. Also, lastly, it has to be maintained and exercised. Everything looks good on paper, but if you don't exercise your continuity plan, you won't know if it's actually feasible and executable. Once you exercise it, you can identify gaps and make sure that you maintain or fix those gaps before you need it in an actual event. Part 2, some common misconceptions with COOP. What a COOP is not. It's not an emergency operations plan or an emergency action plan. It's not specific to any event or an incident, but it can be related to or in response to a cyber attack, power outages, active shooter, theft, weather events, things of that nature. You won't be planning for a specific event. A COOP plan encompasses all of these and it's scalable. So no matter what event happens, you can do a partial COOP activation or a full COOP activation, just depending on the situation. A COOP is also not a 3-ring binder on a shelf. Once it gets done and you print out, you don't just put it in a binder, lock it away to collect dust. As I previously said, it needs to be maintained to make sure it's relevant and accurate. Part 3. What does a COOP contain? There are 10 parts of a COOP. And as I stated before, they can be personalized to fit your unique needs of your organization. There's no cookie cutter approach to a COOP. Your essential functions, that's what you do every day, your daily operations. But during a COOP, you'll look at them and we'll prioritize them to understand which functions need to be bumped up in priority and returned as soon as possible and which ones can be delayed. Your orders of successions and delegations of authority is who would be in charge if needed, and also who can make decisions during a disruption. With your continuity facilities is if our primary facility is damaged, where will we go to continue to operate out of? With your continuity communications is how will we talk, internally or externally? Your vital records management is what resources and records or programs do we need to support our essential functions, and how we maintain them and protect those vital records. Your human capital is your employees, whether you'll have additional help in an emergency, if you have an agreement with a temporary agency to assign emergency workers to you. This is what's discussed in human capital. Test training and exercise, or TT&E, is the section where you come up with a plan to test, train, and exercise your continuity plan to identify gaps and vulnerabilities in that plan so you can fix them before an actual incident. Devolution is when you transfer authority to another organization to carry out your essential functions because you've been overwhelmed and can't. Reconstitution is if you're operating in a continuity facility and your primary facility is fixed or you have a new primary facility, reconstitution is moving back to that primary facility. These are some of the events covered in the COOP. As I previously stated, a COOP can be scalable and it can apply to all of these different events, whether it's a fire, a pipe bursting in your 3rd floor that floods the subsequent floors below, or it could be a tornado comes through your town. Any of these events can cause a COOP to be activated. Part 4, creation and sustainability. Where it begins. The process of creating your COOP can take about 3 to 4 months, and it begins with an evaluation of your current program, whether that continuity program is non-existent or you built a plan 10 years ago, you just haven't dusted it off and updated it. Next, we'll do a risk assessment, and the risk assessment will dictate how the plan will be created, and it will determine what type of personalization is needed in your establishment or organization. Now that your COOP's created, you need to keep it top of your mind. It's important the COOP is shared within your organization so everyone knows what to do and how you'll react during an incident. If you have people that have specific roles in a COOP and they don't know about it, how can you expect them to respond when the COOP is activated? And there's various ways you can keep them up to date. You can conduct drills. You can have information meetings where you just inform some of your stakeholders or employees of their roles and responsibilities and what the plan consists of. Also, you'll need reminders, whether that's quarterly reminders or biannual reminders, that you need to check out your plan and make sure it's still relevant and the information is up to date. We've made it to the end. So for a limited time only, If you contact us, we will give you a free risk assessment of your facility. We'll evaluate what hazards and risks are present in your area, and we'll quantifiably rank those risks so you can see where you stand and if you've been planning for the right things. Some of my past work recently, within the last 12 months, we completed a continuity of operations and physical security plan for the City of Post. Here's what was involved with the City of Post plan. It's very in-depth. As you can see, we have purpose, scope, situation, and assumptions. That's going to lay out the groundwork for your plan. Then we go into the concept of operations. Those are the different phases of a plan, as far as phase 1, getting ready and prepared. Phase 2, activating your plan. Phase 3 is when you're in the continuity of operations phase. Phase 4 is reconstitution. As I said earlier, reconstitution is going back home, going back to your primary facility. Other sections in a continuity of operations plan is disaster intelligence. That feeds into your risk assessment. Communications. How will you talk to each other before, during, and after an event? And that leads into your annexes. And your annexes lays out your plan and identifies each part, your essential functions, your human capital, your vital records management. Make sure you book a free risk assessment. This risk assessment will identify the hazards that may be putting your organization at risk.